Pavel Bure, also known as the Russian Rocket, became a star in both the National Hockey League and international competition thanks to his lightning speed and skill with the puck. Moscow is where Pavel Bure was born. At the Olympic Games in 1968, 1972, and 1976, Pavel's father competed in swimming for the Soviet Union and took home 4 medals. The goalkeeper for the Soviet Union's water polo squad in the Olympics was Pavel's granddad. Pavel's father wanted him to become a champion swimmer like him, but the youngster had different plans that focused around being a professional hockey player. Pavel, who was 6 years old and had never played hockey on an ice surface, was enrolled in a hockey school supported by CSKA Moscow. Pavel was an attentive student who, at the age of 11, had been named the league's top forward. Pavel, a 12-year-old, was chosen to join Wayne Gretzky and Vladislav Tretiak in a television special in July 1982. He eventually joined the junior unit of the Central Red Army 2 years later. Bure was a member of the Soviet Union's national midget squad that toured Canada in 1986. Bure, whose abilities were immediately apparent, joined the Central Red Army team in 1987 at the age of just 16. Although he was deemed too young to join full-time, Pavel was invited to the parent club's training camp for the 1987-88 campaign. As a backup, he participated in a few games when the team temporarily lost numerous players to the Canada Cup competition in September 1987. In 1988-89, he made a full-time commitment to the team, set a rookie record for the Soviet League with 17 goals, and was voted the league's Rookie of the Year. With players like Bure, Sergei Fedorov, Slava Fedosov, Igor Larionov, Sergei Makarov, and Alexander Mogilny on its lineup that year, CSKA Moscow won the IIHF European Cup and the Soviet title 12 times in a row. Bure and Valery Kaminsky shared the team scoring lead in their third and last season with the Red Army, each with 46 points. Pavel finished second in the league in goals with 35. Pavel was chosen by the Vancouver Canucks in the 6th round, 113th overall, of the 1989 NHL entry draft while excelling in his native country. The decision had generated debate since it appeared that the Canucks had selected Pavel a year before he was eligible. Being only 18 years old, he was eligible to be selected in the first 3 rounds of the draft, but in order to be selected later, he would have needed to have played for his top-tier European club, the Central Red Army, for at least 2 seasons, with a minimum of 11 games per season. Mike Penny, the head scout for Vancouver, had learned that the prodigy had participated in additional exhibition and international games, making him eligible to be selected in the late rounds of the draft 1 year sooner than anticipated. Soviet officials prohibited the Canucks from contacting Bure after his draft. Pavel didn't go for North America from Moscow with his father and brother Valery until September 1991. Bure and the Canucks started contract talks, but before one could be signed, the Central Red Army contract issue needed to be resolved. In October of that same year, representatives from the Soviet Ice Hockey Federation met with Vancouver's administration to discuss a resolution. The Canucks made a $200,000 offer, and Pavel shockingly added another $50,000. The $250,000 settlement, which was fully paid for by the Canucks, was accepted by the Russian government. After that, Pavel agreed to a 4-year deal worth an estimated $2.7 million, making him the second highest-paid Canuck after captain Trevor Linden. On November 5, 1991, Bure made his NHL debut in a 3-3 tie with the Winnipeg Jets. He was amazing, and although being held without a goal, his incredible speed and puck-handling skills quickly made him a fan favorite. Pavel won the Calder Trophy as the NHL's Rookie of the Year that year after tallying 34 goals and 60 points in 65 games. The first significant individual honor granted to a Canuck in the history of the team was that one, along with coach Pat Quinn's Jack Adams Award for being the league's finest coach. Bure set a franchise record for goals in a season during the 1992-93 season, the first of 2 consecutive 60-goal seasons. Tony Tanti had set the previous mark with 44. With 110 points overall, Pavel was the first Canuck to be selected to the NHL First All-Star Team. In 1993-94, Bure led the league in scoring. By scoring 60 goals for the second consecutive year, he became just the eighth player in NHL history to accomplish this feat. He scored 107 points in total for the season. Bure drove Vancouver to the Stanley Cup final that spring. The New York Rangers eventually defeated the Vancouver Canucks to win the Lord Stanley's Cup after 7 games. Bure had 31 points in 24 games, 16 goals, and was second in the postseason scoring. Pavel left to play hockey in Europe during the 1994-1995 NHL lockout, but he returned to Vancouver once the dispute was settled and recorded 43 points in the season's 48 games. During a 7-game series victory over the St. Louis Blues that spring, he set franchise records for the most goals and points in a single series with 7 and 12, respectively. In contrast, Chicago swept the Canucks in the second round of the playoffs that year. Bure switched from his usual jersey number 10 to number 96 in 1995-1996 to mark the occasion of his arrival in North America from Moscow, 9th month, 6th day of 1991. Pavel's knee injury during the season didn't stop Vancouver from making the playoffs, but they were ousted in the first round. For the second time since Bure joined the team, Vancouver missed the playoffs in 1996-1997 as a result of Bure's several game absences due to injuries. The Canucks signed free agent Mark Messier that summer, and there were high expectations that the two would form a strong line. Pavel's number 10 was given back to him after 2 seasons marred by injuries. He claimed, "I'm not superstitious, but the last 2 seasons have brought back horrible memories." Bure's offense recovered. He had his third 50-goal season of his career, and he finished the season with 90 points, good for third in the NHL scoring that year, despite the team missing the playoffs for the second consecutive spring. Despite having 1 year left on his contract, Bure wanted a trade following the 1997-1998 campaign. He returned to Moscow and worked out with the Central Red Army squad rather than reporting to the Canucks training camp. Pavel was given a $4 million U.S. tax-free salary around this time to play in Belarus, but Bure turned it down. On January 17, 1999, Pavel was dealt to the Florida Panthers after refusing to leave. Pavel experienced the same injury problems at Florida, where he played just 11 games in 1998-1999 despite recording 13 goals and 3 assists. Bure led the NHL in goals scored in 1999-2000, his first full season as a Panther, tallying 58, earning him his first of 2 straight Maurice Richard Trophy victories. Pavel topped the league in scoring for the second time, but since the Rocket Richard Trophy had only recently been instituted, it was his first time winning it. His 94 points, along with his 36 assists, put him just 2 points behind Jaromir Jagr, the league's top scorer. Florida qualified for the playoffs for the first time in 3 seasons thanks to Bure's performance, even though they were swept in the first round of the postseason. Florida finished 6th in the Eastern Conference. Bure was a nominee for the Hart Trophy as the NHL's most valuable player after that season, but Jagr ultimately won. For the first time, Pavel was selected to the NHL's second All-Star team. Despite his injury struggles, Bure was chosen to play in the 2001 All-Star Game. He was voted the match's most valuable player after his hat trick propelled the world squad to a 9-4 victory over North America. With 59 goals that season, Bure won the scoring title once more and became the 5th and final player in history to break the 50-goal mark. Although Pavel was selected to the NHL's second All-Star team for the second consecutive year, the Panthers failed to make the playoffs. The brothers were put on the same club when Florida acquired Valeri Bure from the Calgary Flames prior to the 2001-2002 campaign. However, Pavel was injured frequently throughout the season and played in just 56 games. He nevertheless continued to be the team's top scorer for the 3rd consecutive season, scoring 49 points in a partial season. He was dealt to the New York Rangers at the trading deadline. He concluded the season with 34 goals and 69 points between the two teams. Bure's injury problems persisted, and in 2002-2003 he played in just 39 games while recording 19 goals and 30 points. Pavel did not play at all in 2003-2004 due to ongoing ailments, and the 2004-2005 lockout caused him to miss a total of 2 seasons. Pavel Bure made his retirement announcement on November 1, 2005, at a press conference in Moscow, following the NHL's return to action in 2005-2006. Bure played in 702 regular season games for the NHL during his career, tallying 437 goals and 342 assists for a total of 779 points. 70 points, equal parts goals and assists, were also scored in 64 playoff games throughout his brief career. Pavel Bure was inducted into the IIHF Hall of Fame and the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2012, and the Vancouver Canucks retired his number 10 the following season.